School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Here.
Mr. David.
Here.
Mr. Kugler. Mr. Kurth.
Here.
Ms. Manley.
Here.
Mr. Nickerson.
Here.
Ms. Wondercheck.
Here. I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
As acting president, I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.851 C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, the approval of closed session minutes of April 8th, B, the employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff, C, negotiation strategies.
Do I have a second?
Second? Sorry, second.
Sorry. Jeff did the hard part.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. David. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Mr. David.
Yes.
Mr. Kurth.
Yes.
Ms. Manley.
Yes.
Mr. Nickerson.
Yes.
Ms. Wondercheck.
Yes.
We are now adjourning to closed session. We'll return as soon as close to 7 o'clock as possible.
Oh, dear.
My password, so I had to change it when I did the counting. Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
Right. Oh, little one. Oh, no, I think it's a big picture issue. Oh. Dada. Oh, Dada. I know. We have to get our hands on that data, and I don't have that data. You know, we have to know what South sections are, you know what I mean?
About the school board, so I'm like, who are you? Like, you never talked to me. You won't acknowledge me. It's like, now you want me to be my buddy?
All that.
And cold. I seen the rest of it. Oh, here it comes, here it goes. Oh, there. Dispernation. Never seen it before.
Don't make me look bad, but never mind.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are returning from closed session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by posting the agenda at each district school, the district office, and the city library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal-Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the New Berlin Now, all of which filed requests for all public notices. First item on our agenda is oath of office. And tonight we welcome Justice Rebecca Grassel Bradley to administer the oath of office. Justice Rebecca Grassel Bradley is a Milwaukee native. She was elected to the Supreme Court in 2016 after being appointed by Governor Walker in 2015. She is the first Wisconsin Supreme Court justice to have served as an intermediate appellate court judge as well as a circuit court judge. Before joining the Supreme Court, Justice Bradley served as a District 1 Court of Appeals judge, a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge, and worked as an attorney in a private practice, including serving as Vice President of Legal Operations for a global software company. Justice Bradley graduated from Marquette University in 1993 with an honors of Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Business Economics and received her Juris Doctor from the University of Wisconsin Law School in 1996. Justice Bradley is a member of the Supreme Court Finance Committee and chairs the Supreme Court Legislative Committee as a Chief Justice Designee. She is a member of the Board of Advisors and past president of the Milwaukee Lawyers Chapter of the Federalist Society, serves on the Wisconsin State Advisory Committee of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and is a member of the Bench and Bar Committee of the Wisconsin State Bar. She previously served on the Board of Governors of the St. Thomas More Lawyers Society and the Wisconsin Juvenile Jury Instruction Committee, the Wisconsin Juvenile Bench Book Committee, and as a member of the Milwaukee Trial Judges Association and the Wisconsin Trial Judges Association. While in private practice, Justice Bradley served as an American Arbitration Association arbitrator and chairman of the State Bar Business Law Section. We welcome you, Justice Bradley.
I'll have to give you the shorter version of my bio for next week. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you again to the school board and the superintendent for inviting me back to administer the oath to our newest school board members-elect. It is always my honor to be here and glad to see so many members of the community and friends and family members of the people who have been elected to serve. And I wanted to share my personal gratitude to you, even though I do not live in New Berlin, but I know from experience how arduous it can be to run a campaign, and I'm sure that each of you did so out of a sense of public service and public duty, and I commend you for taking all of the time and putting forth all the effort that it takes to run a successful campaign so that you can serve your community. So congratulations to each of you. I'd also like to congratulate the members who have served Tom David for so many years as a school board member. Thank you for your service, Tom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is anyone else? Nate, sorry.
No,
There
that's
you
okay.
are. Thank you, Nate, for your service as well to the school board and to the people of New Berlin. I think I mention this every year. It's a real pleasure for me to administer the oath to school board members because I have a close connection to educators. I come from a family not of lawyers. I'm in fact the only lawyer, much less judge, in my extended family going back many generations, but I come from a family of teachers and educators at multiple levels. So it's really, again, my honor and my privilege to be able to administer the oath to you this evening. We'll be doing this one by one. Mitch, I think you're going to go first. And I want to invite family members and friends, photographers, to get pictures.
That's a better title.
What a beautiful family. You've got your right arm free, so you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mitchell Helmer, having been elected to the office of school board member, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. I just need you to sign the official oath. Janet. You're in alphabetical order. I just noticed. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Janet Schultz, having been elected to the office of school board member, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. Last but not least, Kate Unger. All set? All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kate Unger, having been elected to the office of school board member, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. And we're done. Again, congratulations to our newest school board members.
All right, the next item on our agenda is recognitions.
Hello, New Berlin, Jeffrey Kurth, school board member. It's my honor to be able to recognize Tom David for his unbelievable service to the Board of Education. Tom was elected in 2010, the first year he spent as a board member, and then he went on to being the clerk for a couple of years, and then he was a treasurer this year. He was vice president from 2012 to 2017. 2017 to 18, he was our board president. Tom has dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort to the school district. I'm actually proud to say that he's got family members that are teachers here as well. My daughter's in her class. I just wanted to say thank you very much for your leadership, your time, and all your effort that you put forth to the school board. Thanks very much. Come on up.
It has been an honor and a privilege to serve on this board, to serve the people of New Berlin, to serve the students and their parents. To the new board members, I congratulate you, and I just ask that we just keep in mind the parents and the administrators and the teachers, because those are the people who got us where we are. The board was a lot different 9 years ago. And we've become one of the best districts in the state, and that's because of the administration, that's because of the teachers, and that's because of their parents, the parents of the students. So again, I just thank you for this, and it has just been my honor to be here. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. We don't have any. So we're going to move on to the team message. I just want to, as Vice President of the board, welcome the 3 new board members to the New Berlin Board of Education. We look forward to having you take your seats, after the 4th Monday of April, which per state statute. So if people are wondering why they're not up here today, it's due to the state statutes that they can take office or take their seats on the 4th Monday. And they will be joining us for our April 29th special meeting. So welcome again. Takes us on to our administrative team report.
So we were going to have a school update from New Berlin West. We have rescheduled that to May 13th. And meanwhile, we do have an update from New Berlin West, and that is your student board representative, William Detloff, to provide an update.
So for the update relating to sports is that spring sports are off to a great start besides the recent weather cancellations. Track and field just competed at Nathan Hale and are also competing there today. And girls soccer played Greenfield on Tuesday and won 3-1. And during halftime, it was teacher appreciation night. For the update relating to activities, is that El Sol raised $1,000 for a Venezuelan charity through their annual Zumbathon. The theater department put on Our Town this past weekend, where over 400 audience members attended the 3 performances, and that ended West Tap season. And then Forensics attended state on April 6th and had 1 member go all the way to the semifinals. Chick-fil-A Leader Academy is getting close to completing their finals project for the year, which will be a room designated to help West students in need of clothing, food, and other materials. And lastly, music students are getting ready for their state solo and ensemble, which will be April 27th and May 4th.
Thank you, William.
Next item on the agenda is the district reports. Are there any items that need to be pulled out for discussion? Mr. David, can you please read the donation report?
Absolutely. It's a lengthy report, but I'll be brief. So for Poplar Creek, the Milwaukee School of Engineering donated $250 for the robotics team. Also for PC, the Poplar Creek PTO donated $191 for assignment notebooks. And all the rest of these that I'm going to be reading until I tell you is going to be for the build team. Tom and Todd Batchelor donated $200. Mary Jo Johnson donated $100. Barry Johnson donated $250. Sandra Buchholz donated $25. Conrad Muth donated $100. Stanek Tool Corporation donated $100. William Carpenter donated $25. Gene Counter donated $25. Thomas and Lenore Rohan donated $25. Beth Gooding donated $100. Eric and Kristen Brown donated $30. Chris and Tanya Michael donated $50. Lawrence and Tammy Whitmore donated $50. The Build Motor Mentor Program donated $250. Sharon Johnson donated $50. Zoom Building Products donated $100. Daniel Tezak donated $50. Jeff Pearson donated $100. Lisa and Stephen Leig, excuse me if I mispronounced that, donated $100. Apex Consulting LLC donated $100. Dawn Matecki donated $30. Marty and Rose Thompson donated $150. Kimberly Cab donated $75. Gary Counter donated $25. And that's it for the build team. And then for the Chick-fil-A Leader Academy, Addo Institute donated $500 for athletics. Brand Muscle donated $750. To help students with reduced lunch status, Mod Pizza donated $22. Poplar Creek PTO donated nearly $9,500 for the projector system for the gym. Hayquin Enterprises donated $200 for the Trap Club, who still have not invited the board members out there. PPG donated $3,000 for science. Ronald Reagan Home and School Association donated $500 to be applied for the cost of a bus for a kindergarten field trip, and then applied for the bus cost for a 3rd grade field trip. The district is in awe of just the generosity of our partners, and we're very thankful to have them.
Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move to approve as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. David, a second by Ms. Manley to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to our regular agenda. First item on our regular agenda is a presentation of the We Energies Cooperative Solar Project.
So as the school board is aware, we have been working diligently with We Energies as well as with SunVest to come up with a cooperative for solar project in the school district and with them. Today we have Jim Sherman from We Energies, as well as Kirk Kindred, who is the president of SunVest, here available for any comments, questions, or concerns at the end of the presentation. So we are looking at a cooperative called Solar Now, and this is a solar PV system hosting program. Essentially what it does is it offers We Energy customers the opportunity to lease their ground and or roof space to We Energies to install a solar array. We Energies is responsible for the design, construction, operation, as well as related costs of the solar array, and in exchange, the customer, which is the school district, will receive a lease payment. The areas that we're looking at in this co-op are specifically 3 various roofs throughout the district. The New Berlin West roof, the Eisenhower roof, and the Ronald Reagan roof. We're also looking at leasing ground space at Ronald Reagan. These are the projected lease payments for those specific areas annually. And we are looking at entering into a 20-year agreement in this co-op. So it would total about $1.9 million in total revenue by leasing out this space. What are the additional costs or associated costs with this? The school district is responsible for the cost of temporarily relocating the solar array if the roof needs to be replaced. There are estimated costs for the decommissioning, the disassembling, the reassembly, and so on, the roof mounts, and certainly we're looking at these dollars for budgetary reasons only in current dollars. Specifically, there would be associated costs at approximately $450,000, which is reflected on this slide, for a net revenue increase of about $1.465 million. Let me circle back, though, to these related costs. This is assuming that We Energies would have to, one of the biggest costs would be to have to rent out and or find a contractor that has some sort of lifting mechanism or a crane mechanism in order to move these, their solar panels. Well, if we are actually making improvements to a roof, we're already going to have that crane or that device on our school grounds as it is. And so these are extremely conservative numbers, and so we believe that these costs would be significantly less than what's anticipated, therefore garnering us more closer to the estimated revenue than the less estimated costs. So these are some of the specifics about the roof-mounted systems, which I'm not going to get into, but into too much terrible detail. That's why I have the experts here. That's why we asked them to be here. But essentially, it's cloud-based monitoring, but it would also allow us not only as a school district partner, but our students and our staff would be able to take advantage of this program. And so there's online access to the data. There would be kiosks links throughout the school district as needed. We actually have already been working with We Energies on partnering with their respective foundation on seeing how we can pay for and offset some of these costs in order to get this data directly into the hands of our students and our staff. And it can be used for several other things that aren't just benefiting the school, but also our school community. This is what it could look like, and I apologize for those of you that are here, but trust me, it looks really neat when you have it on a screen. And this is what it would look like. Board members, you have it on the device up in front of you. And do want to clarify that the board has approved this proposal in concept, pending legal review. And as we speak, not only is the school district's legal counsel, but also our partners' legal counsel are reviewing the contract in detail to ensure that this is a win-win situation for both them as a partner and us as a school district. And while we hope to reach agreement sooner than later, our goal is to have these projects in place and done and solidified no later than the start of next school year. That is our goal. And so at this point, I would invite our two guests to come on up.
May want Andy too.
Andy, come on up. Should we need your insights as well? But I guess I would ask the board at this point, I know some of the questions have come up that I will address actually on the front end. We were initially, the initial proposal was brought forth as a 30-year proposal. 30 years, 25, or 25 being the minimum. In discussions with the board, we felt that the 20-year minimum was where we wanted to go. And so that was a directive that we were given. We felt 30 years was a bit long, 25 were still a little longer, 20 years if that's the minimum, then certainly that's what we would agree to move forward with. One of the other questions is, in a typical lease agreement, certainly if there is damage done by, say, We Energies and our partners, SunVest, on our roofs, as per any typical lease agreement, they would have to pay for it. We wouldn't absorb those costs. It's a very typical lease agreement, and certainly our attorneys will ensure that we were covered in that capacity. But certainly our taxpayers just want to know what's all written in. And then finally, as far as any major disruptions, as far as with the lease itself, I did get an email from a constituent earlier today asking about the potential disruption of having these solar fields in the district. The majority of these will be on our roofs. The only on-site or on the ground field that we'll be utilizing is a field that is on basically the corner of Calhoun and National, not the imminent corner that is closest there, which is where our football teams, our youth football teams, and sometimes soccer, and sometimes people just come and visit with their dogs. But it's everything north, I guess it would be west of that service drive. There is certainly a garage there that our football team uses for their equipment. Certainly we would not be blocking that. We would have to relocate some of the flag football usage that is there. We would be looking at probably Poplar Creek or Orchard Lane fields in order to do that. But certainly it would be minimal disruption to us as far as a long-term, do we think that we are looking at building an auxiliary building there or anything like that? Certainly not. And so it is out of the way. It is certainly, and again, it's something where they can maximize their solar energy and then again, maximize our revenue generating source as a result of that. And so those are some of the just high level comments, questions, concerns that we've been addressing. I guess I'll hand it over to the rest of the board to ask you gentlemen, should they have any other specific questions, because when it comes to the solar and all the detail, that's why we needed you here.
So, Andy, the reason I wanted you to come up is I can assume some questions will be asked about what are the current conditions of these three roofs? When were they last replaced? When are they scheduled to be replaced again? Because I'm sure people don't want solar panels put up and then we know 2 years later that the roof needs to be replaced. All right, so if you maybe look at, either answer that or if you have to research it, that's fine.
Well, yes, we have all of our roofs laid out and life expectancy on them. So we have an idea of about, when the roofs will age out. Like your roof at home, though, just if the roof is rated for 20 years, that doesn't mean that 20 years that roof's going to go bad. It has a lot to do with the maintenance, and we track leak calls and everything else on the roofs. That was a big part of this, was sharing that information with them, along with our roofing consultant, to see when are these roofs going to come due. And that's going to be a big part of, as we move forward, how do we want to manage that? Again, if you look at Ronald Reagan, we're not going to have to replace every roof section on Ronald Reagan all at the same time. So we do some strategic planning, we'll be in really good shape. Because some of this, as we were discussing, we're not going to need to take it all the way off the roof. We can move it to another roof section, do the roof, and put it back. And then, as Mr. Garza pointed out, we are going to have a crane there to do the roof work. So we can utilize that crane for some of this other stuff. So we can give you that information. in a short amount of time, we have it all done. It just depends on which roof section you want to look at.
And I know most of our roofs are in really good shape anyway,
Yeah,
right now.
they currently are.
And then, so if we have to move the panels, it's my understanding, because we've discussed this before, is that they're relatively easy to move.
Correct. And as these gentlemen will contest to, is that, or verify, it's basically, it's an aluminum structure with a concrete block on it, and then the panel's mounted to that. The trickiest part to that is covering up the panel, because they get so hot that you can't really touch them without special gloves or whatever. Other than that, it's just a matter of unplugging them, moving the block. It's a lot of manual labor, but, you know, we can just take a lot of people up there and say, let's go to work.
Great. Thanks, Andy, I appreciate it.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, Andy, did you indicate that you were going to be getting back to us with the, because that's the same question I was going to ask. I was going to ask what the age of each of those roofs are at this point. and
Yeah,
when
we can get,
Yeah,
I'll get that to,
Yeah, and so what we gave them was our projected roof replacement plan.
Yeah.
You know, for the next 20 years.
Sure.
And that's how they came back with the numbers, the projected costs.
Okay.
Were based on the roofs that needed to be addressed. And so, and again, this would be the worst-case scenario, not assuming that we wouldn't have a crane on site.
Sure.
And again, some of the efficiencies that we believe that we would find. So most certainly, that's already calculated in, you know, back to your point, Tom, that's already factored in, you know, at a very conservative level here.
Sure, and I guess I was just trying to gauge with the budget picture that lies ahead with all the other issues that we're dealing with. You know, when are we going to incur those roof costs on each roof is what I was asking. So I can wait to get that information.
yeah, we can, I'll give that to Mr. Garza, and he can share that with the board.
That'd be great.
It's all done and put together. The thing that we have to look at is, again, when you look at your roofs, you have to remember that Elmwood was built all at one time. So that's one roof. But we don't necessarily need to re-roof that as one giant building.
Sure.
We can break that up into little pieces and make it more manageable. It's the same thing with Ronald Reagan. There's no reason, and nobody can tell you that all those roofs are gonna go bad at one time. It never happens that way.
Sure.
One little section goes bad, but we can break them up and put control joints in and make it more manageable.
And New Berlin West and New Berlin Eisenhower have already been not replaced all at once, so they're already staggered.
Correct.
And that's already factored in. You know, Reagan, Elmwood's not an issue here because they're not a building that we're putting solar panels on, but Reagan, because it's a newer building, certainly that's something we would have to consider, but Eisenhower and West are already somewhat piecemealed throughout, so.
Right.
Thank you.
But that report will give you that, and then we can plan from there accordingly.
That'd be good. Thank you so much.
Assuming you're putting it on the newer sections then?
These panels are laid out in such a way that we can maximize the solar gain. So not necessarily, they weren't put on any really bad roofs or any really good roofs. It was to maximize our solar efficiency. So, yeah. Because you have to remember shade and fall roofs. So. But these gentlemen, I gotta tell you, they spent weeks with my staff going through each building, each roof, all the electrical systems. They did every school in the district to get to this point. They did not skip a school, like even Orchard Lane, as small as it is, they went there, they crawled up on the roof, they did their homework. So I think what they're bringing us is the best solution.
Excellent. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's not too often people come and they want to give us revenue. So, and your timing is perfect. So thank you very much for that. I just had a couple of questions about, are other districts participating in this too? Is this a pilot that you're starting with just a few, or how does that work?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Appreciate it. I'm Jim Sherman from We Energies. So the program that we have offered is a tariff, actually, that was approved in December by the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. It is a pilot, but it's a long-term pilot. How this will work is, as entities such as yourself have expressed interest, we start building that list and happy to say that there's a lot of interest for this, but New Berlin is, you guys are first on the list that we're working with. So there are other districts that are interested. There's also commercial industrial entities that are also interested. So we have a wide range of entities that hopefully will be taking part in this pilot.
Excellent. And then a quick question. I was interested in the educational aspect. So that was a neat ad so that students could learn. And can you share a little bit about what that looks like?
Sure. Kirk Kindred with SunVest Solar. So the curriculum itself that you would develop for the students, we wouldn't necessarily be able to provide the curriculum, but all of the data that Superintendent Garza was talking about as far as what the system is going to be producing, how big the array is, what the carbon offset is, all of the environmental attributes, that's going to be available. And even, we did a school district over in the western part of the state. We even had some leftover components, those racking components that Andy was talking about, the rack that holds it, the very sophisticated Menards block that holds it down on the roof, as well as the panels themselves that are, non-functioning and not completing a circuit, so they're not electrified, can be used sort of in a shop class just from an educational sort of hands-on type of access to it as well. So there's a lot of different components that can be used, physical components, as well as the data that they can be mined off of the cloud-based monitoring platform to build a curriculum model over. And there are, as Jim has talked about, there's other school districts looking at it, and there's been some requests to the foundation, We Energies Foundation, to help offset some of the cost of the curriculum, and I know they're looking into a couple different packages that might be available, whether they're going to supply that or just be able to point to some resources to help the teachers develop that curriculum. That'd be something yet to come. But it is unusual to come to a district and offer a solar array like this with the economic benefit being immediate. We've done a lot of school districts throughout the country, and usually it's the return on investment, payback time frame, and where they're going to come up with the capital and what that capital cost is and how they're going to pay it back. It's usually those conversations that we're having, not normally where it's just you get to host it and enjoy the revenue immediately. And we're looking at an implementation in the summer months when the facilities are not being used as heavily, and hopefully you'll have clean energy by the time the school year starts for 1920.
Excellent, very exciting. And my last question, of course, the payment, right? So how does that work? Does the district receive lump sums, or
Probably have a
just
little
educate
bit
us?
better idea.
Yeah, I believe it will. You'll get a monthly payment. You won't get a lump sum, but you'll get a monthly payment each month based on the 12-month projection of the revenue. Just in regards to that, the revenue, the payment rate is fixed. But as with any kind of mechanical equipment, there is slight degradation over a longer term. So over the term, the payment, the rate will stay the same, but depending on the output of the facility, that will help. As the degradation occurs, as it's being used, there'll be a slight, not much, but there will be some slight degradation. But that's all factored into the estimates that we provided for that 20-year payment. So that 1.9 million is a good estimate for what you likely will receive over the 20 years.
Again, thank you very much.
And then I just have one other question. So with regard to the equipment and the degradation of the equipment as time goes on, I mean, if these panels degrade to the point where they're just not effective anymore, you guys aren't in a position to replace them at all, are you? Or how does that work? I mean,
Well, the products are going to last 25 plus years.
Okay.
They last more.
the life is about 25.
Yeah, if one of the panels failed, obviously, that's part of the O&M agreement that would be replaced in order to keep the equipment functioning. But the panels themselves, it's a 0.5% degradation annually over the life expectancy of the panel. So they just slowly start producing a little bit less energy over time. But that's all factored into it. And to Jim's point about the pilot, there was 35 megawatts, so we're talking about, for the school district here, just over 2 megawatts. The maximum for any one particular client is 2.25 megawatts. I don't want to get too technical, but that's the max system size, and you're just under that. So that was part of working with Andy's team to identify the different locations where we could try to maximize the benefit for the district. And thankfully, you have great locations, and you can host Out of the 35 megawatts, again, you're getting 2, 10 was allocated or earmarked for nonprofit, public sector, municipalities, and school districts. So it's a small pool, 10 megawatts, you're getting 20% of what's allocated for nonprofits, which is fantastic. And there is overwhelming interest, obviously, and a lot of people on the list below you. So they're going to be pretty jealous when they see that your system is up and it's the first and it's installed and you're getting the revenue, which is tremendous. But hopefully the pilot will get expanded and we'll have other school districts enjoying it. But for right now, you're getting almost the maximum that you can for any one client.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
When do we start?
Hopefully in June.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Thank you. That brings us to our next item, which is action on items from closed session. I believe we have a couple.
Yes, I have one, to approve the employment services report as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Manley, a second by Mr. Nickerson to approve the employment service report. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. There's one more item from closed session.
Yes, I move to approve the transportation, or actually I move to extend the transportation contract for 5 years based on the bids received.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. David. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Sorry, I didn't vote. I just thought we could have some discussion.
I'm
to
sorry.
explain
We
it
were-
a little
That's
bit.
what I was waiting for discussion.
No, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Open up for discussion.
Thank you. But just wanted to share with everyone, since we talked about it in closed session, regarding the busing. So we went out to RFP. I know there's been some discussion out in the community on that. Unfortunately, while there was people that had some interest, only one, our current one, came back with an actual response to our RFP. So there wasn't tremendous selection, obviously, and then they gave us 2 options, 3 or 5 years. There was better discounts if we went longer with the 5-year. Certainly there was less attractive with 3-year. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what we were voting on.
Part of the reason as well is, the reason why we weren't getting bids is almost all the busing companies are having issues with trying to find enough drivers to be able to carry the contract. So the ones that possibly entertained the idea didn't feel that they had enough drivers to be able to support our district at all, which is why we were limited to just the one that we currently have, so.
Not to say they are also struggling for workers too.
Right.
But nonetheless felt that they had the opportunity to fulfill their obligations, certainly.
All right, now we're ready for a vote. So I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. David. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to future meetings and dates. So the board meetings are generally held on the 2nd and 4th Monday, beginning at 7 p.m. in the New Berlin West Commons, unless noted otherwise. So because our 4th meeting in April actually falls during spring break, we have a special meeting on April 29th. And during that meeting, we will do our board reorganizational meeting. Our next meeting will be on Monday, May 13th. And then the following one, because of Memorial Day, will actually be on Tuesday, May 28th. And a reminder that spring break starts this Friday, April 19th, and goes through April 26th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Vice President, I move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Nickerson. To adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned.